Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure being here today. For all my lovely panelists to join us, Mr. Siddharth, Mr. Nirdosh, please. Ms. Kalika, Mehra, please join us. All right, I think we can just start with the people that we have here. We're still waiting on a few people to join us. All right, I think I'll start with Mr. Siddharth here. I don't think he needs an introduction. Everyone here knows him from his fame of Snitch. He's done an amazing job at building the brand. And I mean, Snitch is one of the fastest growing brands in India right now, especially in the menswear category. Since Snitch is always adding new styles every day on your platforms, and considering the rapid pace of the fashion industry, how can technological advancements in WMS, ARS be tailored to ensure a faster time to market for new styles?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. So largely, I mean, we are a brand that launches almost 5 to 6 styles every single day on our platform. And how do we do that is through a vertical integration. We've sort of built the entire tech in-house, which helps us understand one, trends, second, faster to sort of get those products live, and then depending on the sort of rate of sale that every product receives, there is a replenishment model that has been built in-house again, and obviously, so our ideal product to market is largely within, say, about 20 to 25 days, where typically brands take anywhere between 30 to maybe 6 months for a few. And how we probably crack that is just by breaking down a lot of things, giving a lot of exposure and keeping things very transparent from our production to our catalog, to the warehouse, to the marketing team. And that's how I think we've largely solved a lot of these problems. Yeah, I mean, technology is, I mean, if you have to scale any business, technology is a must-have, sort of nuance that you'll have to obviously keep updating yourself every time, learning the sort of lessons that you've, or maybe the mistakes that you've done in the past. Yeah, so I mean, largely that is how we've been doing it.
It's amazing, everything that you've managed to accomplish. It's honestly something to be commended about. And moving on to Mr. Debdeep Sinha here, he's worked with some amazing brands like Park Avenue, Color Plus, Raymond's Ready to Wear. So, and plus he's been heading apparel businesses at Raymond's, having an experience of 30 years plus across various verticals, textile, energy, retail, and financial services. I mean, you name it, and I think he's done it. So, sir, my question to you is, how has integration of auto-replenishment improved the efficiency of inventory management in your fashion supply chain?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So basically, one of the important KPIs in retail is availability of stock. So ARS is a mechanism that helps us to have the fast-moving articles always available in the store. So which reduces the loss of sales. It improves conversions in the stores. It improves the higher sell-throughs, and of course there is a a predictability also of the stock. So you know that you're not having less of dead inventory. So overall, all this leads to a big customer satisfaction in the store. So in terms of ARS implementation, what we have seen is that the products which are the core items, which are about 20 to 25% of the range in our kind of a business. And if you use that and extrapolate that across the new product introductions as well, it helps you to also do a better assortment, a sharper assortment even for the newer stores. So overall, I think the inventory, reduces the chance of the dead inventory and have more of sellable inventory in the store. That's what, this helps us in a big way to manage our inventory. The other fact which sometimes doesn't get highlighted is that when you have a 20-25% of the business running on the auto, the time of the salespeople gets free to devote to generating more business, doing more penetration of the sales. So that's a factor also that helps in a very, very big way.
I think I would love to get a conversation going. So whenever somebody talks about something, if anybody has anything else to input, it'd be amazing. Please feel free to jump in. I'll move on to Mr. Manohar. So everybody knows Sir's rich history in retail. He's been in the retail industry for the last 53 years. And the brand Soch was established in 2005. So, sir, my question to you is, according to you, what are the key performance indicators that fashion companies should monitor when evaluating the success of auto-replenishment and WMS?
Okay. So the two parameters which we measure is what we do is we buy certain styles as experimental pieces and we buy them in small quantities, see how they perform. But basically, when we buy goods, we're buying them for two reasons. One is we think it's going to sell. Second is we know it is selling. So we would prefer to buy more and more of what we know is selling after doing the experiment. So those quantities, there is no ARS. So we measure the weekly sell-through based on that. And after when we buy in quantity, what we do is 75% of the goods are sent to stores. 25% are kept in the warehouse for ARS. The ARS is very simple. If one particular store is out of medium, he will be supplied that pieces. The Bangalore stores are supplied on a daily basis, out of station twice a week. So what we measure is the number of days out of stock. Let's say if I'm keeping a black pant in Lulu Mall, Cochin, my base stock is 2 pieces, and there is an ARS which supplies them twice a week. But I see that out of 365 days, 150 days it's been out of stock. So I up my base stock to 4 pieces. This works very well for 2-3 reasons. One is that when the customer sees a whole set, in his mind, he thinks this is a new piece. It's something new. And when he sees 2 or 3 pieces, he thinks it's old. It's the aesthetic also, when you keep 10 pieces together rather than keeping one piece or two piece, it looks much better. So for us, ARS is very, very important. And I think we can increase our sale by we have increased our sale by 20-25%.
Oh, wow.
In our business, we have styles which sell at 7% per week and what we call blockbusters which sell up to 20% a week. So in the 20% per week, all the top stores get sold out in 3-4 weeks. So then what we do is from the B and C and D stores, we move them to the A stores.
Amazing, sir. That's amazing. All right, I'll move on to Mr. Sanjeev. So I think everybody here knows him very well. He has had 30 years in retail, and he's worked with all the global brands in India, and he's currently heading Being Human. And a quick tip, if anybody wants the dal bukhara recipe, he knows that too. So you can corner him after the session and try to get it out of him. I've tried, but to no avail. He doesn't actually ever spill it.
I need to kill you if I give it to you.
I don't want to die yet, so I think I'll leave it. All right, so coming back to our session, my question to you is, what challenges do fashion retailers face in terms of reverse logistics, especially when handling returns, and how can these challenges be mitigated?
See, returns are a daily fact of life that we all face. Now, just tell you a small thing, I'm not as knowledgeable as a lot of people out here, but whatever little that we do and we understand is that when somebody orders on COD, right, the chances of return is pretty high, right? So we see at times, it goes up to 30, 33%, 35% returns. But a very nice way of actually handling that is incentivize the customer while he's already done the purchase to, kind of give him something little additional so that, it gets into a confirmed order. So that way we have a lot of things. Reverse logistics for us in fashion also happens because we work out of different, channels. For example, we are there with a large set of MBOs across India. And of course, the distributors also, are there. Although we have a signed agreement of a certain amount of merchandise that we are supposed to take back after every season, Normally that's not the case. You know, it goes up and down, and people who are into distribution business here will know what I'm talking about. So for that, what we have done is we have actually created, through the distributors itself, we have created liquidation centers. So they basically open up stores, and the merchandise straight away from there moves into, you know, those stores, and they get liquidated there. Whatever remaining, of course, there is a cost to reverse logistics. To mitigate that, one more thing that we have done is, you know, we utilize a tool which technically gives us an hourly, daily, weekly data of technically what is selling where and what is not selling in certain stores. So it's a continuous process of a store-to-store shifting of merchandise, which helps us in reducing the returns. So reverse logistics, if you actually go in and work on the numbers and see the kind of impact it has on companies who do not act actively on it, well, quite a lot of your money gets eroded there. But if you efficiently manage it, and which is the reason why if you see any retailer abroad, you know, the Black Fridays are the times when they actually go up to 80% and just liquidate the stock at the store so that they don't have to bring it back. So there are many things that we do. I mean, everything we don't have the time to discuss here, but these are few key elements that we do in terms of liquidating stock so that our reverse logistics costs come down. And efficient planning of you know, merchandise which gets consumed, looking at the historical data, also helps to a large extent. From the stores to our warehouse back again, we try to avoid that. We have a lot of dark stores that we have created, you know, so we sweat our stores more than the store timing, so that, you know, it goes into much more productive, higher values. Yeah.
That's just brilliant. I mean, all those insights, I think everybody would agree that those actually work. So I think I would like to know Mr. Abhishek Raj's opinion on the same. But so before that, I'd just like to give you all a quick introduction. I feel like my whole panel here today needs no introduction. They're all like, they've all been around for so long. I think everybody knows them and they've done some great work. But still, Mr. Abhishek has been working with Lacoste for the last 16 years. The brand has been in India for about 33 years now. And he has 18 plus years of experience in brands like BlackBerry, Indigo, and also a fun fact, he's an alumni of NIFT and IIML. So sir, asking your same opinion on reverse logistics and how we can mitigate the costs in that.
Thank you, Nat. Thanks for your kind words. So I'll just pick up what Sanjeev just said. When it comes to return, we always only think about the returns which we get from e-commerce channel and not the dealer distributor mode also. That is also a return. When you do a MBO business, you also do a return. So it's not only a return from e-commerce. Yes, in our life, as in if you ask me about my own brand, as in we don't have the other model, but yes, e-commerce return is a big thing that we really need to handle. Now when life is getting more of a hyper-local, when everybody is really trying to sweat as much as possible the inventory and, you know, 4-hour delivery, quick commerce, etc., all of it is done in order to ensure that we achieve more and more sell-through of our particular product. But return is something that I think is creating a lot of distress within this side of the table. One or two things that probably we have done as a company to understand is we have consciously decided that we are not going to do COD, because COD is something which gives 30-35% return. And that probably has helped us. So on our own website, we get returned around 11 to 12% because there's no COD. Probably that could be the one reason. The second is we are 100% prepaid channel. And we also, as a typical this of saying that we will refund your money after 21 days. That also create a kind of a constraint for a customer. Unless you are very sure that what you want, you will not want. And the third thing that we have done is that there is no exchange. If in case you want the other product, even the other size, you have to buy it once again and you have to pay once again. That's another deterrent probably, which is good, bad, as in can be debated by each side of the table, but whether that will happen or not happen. But now one challenge that I think we have been discussing from a very long time and something that we really need to now solve is, if we get into this hyper-local wherein we are delivering the product from one store to the customer, what do we do and how do we take the return of that product on the same store, do all the activity which marketplaces want, put thousands of cameras, capture every return from every angle to ensure that there is right claim that we can do. And unfortunately, we are in a category where fake is something that we have to really deal with. So we have to be very, very cautious about that. So what industry is asking for and what solutions do we have in this? There's two problems. One, the marketplaces are asking so many KPIs to be followed. And the second thing is, how do we deal with GST? Because if you are billed from the one state, you can't take it the return in the second state. If you do so, what do you do with the GST? So I think there are two questions and a solution. So first part, which I just spoke, is probably the kind of solution that we have taken in order to reduce it, the return. The second part is, I think, is still something which we all need to figure out how we solve. And once we have a solve, probably hyperlocal is gonna pick up, and brand like us who are not really getting into that probably will take it. So both technologically as well as compliance basis, we need to solve this.
That's a really interesting insight you've given us, sir. Actually, I have a follow-up question to all our panelists. Is there anybody else here who stopped doing delivery on COD? Is there anybody in the panel? That's very interesting, sir.
No, I don't think so. Anyone apart from Lacoste could afford to do that.
That's just what I was thinking.
No,
I
we
mean,
also
to be
don't
honest-
do on COD.
Sorry?
We also don't do on COD.
Okay.
See,
All
I'll
right.
tell you, no. So the point here is, see, please understand that for a brand like Lacoste, it's more or less a decided purchase, right? Yeah, because he is the supermarket, the beautiful supermarket. We are the mandi, right? So what happens in a mandi is you go from one vegetable seller to another vegetable seller. Okay, what is your price point of denim? You're selling a distressed denim. Okay, between Snitch and us, he does a lot of printed, beach shirts. We do a lot of printed beach shirts. So the customer says, I'm not able to decide, so COD kaun de raha yaar?
Yeah, I mean, largely, I think, actually, it's a very good insight that you gave us. I mean, what I also think are the other measures that you could obviously take to reduce your, COD is incentivizing a person who's already placed a COD order by just sending a message saying that convert your, COD order into prepaid and get 100 rupees off. Largely, we've seen about 25% of consumers opting that. Secondly, first we kept a barrier of 5,000 as the benchmark, that above 5,000 we're not going to accept, COD. Then we reduced it to 4,000, then we reduced it to 2,000 currently, and we've not seen a drop in conversion rate. So I think different things will work for different brands. And another, great insight. So I was with Mr. Ravi Modi, founder at Manyavar, a couple of weeks back. And I told him, you're a brand that never goes on EOSS. You don't discount. You don't run sales. You do nothing. How do you control dead stock? And he said, I have a 25-year-old data. I know what are the sort of products that sell. And there could be possibility of 10% of my inventory not being sold. And I asked him, how do you solve for that? Because you don't even flush it out in the offline market or anywhere. He said, we stick these stickers on those products and incentivize the salesperson who sells it. And that was, I think, a beautiful insight that I got. And they've built the tech around it that they know this SKU, if this salesman has sold it, this is the sort of amount that person is going to get directly, whether it is franchisee owned, whether it is company owned or anything. And for a salesman to get a 300-500 rupees extra every single day matters a lot. So I think there are multiple such things that everyone can think of.
I'm sorry, I'll just add to what Siddharth is saying. So COD is a cost, right? When you send someone, you are paying some amount to someone, a bank or a agency for a COD. Hypothetically, you are paying 100 rupees for a COD. Now you are again paying 100 rupees to a customer saying, don't do COD, don't return. And then you are also incentivizing your sales guy who has dispatched. Now tell me, all these 100 is adding to your bottom line. So there should be a limit to a discounting or whatever expense that you are doing.
No. You got it wrong.
The confusion is that the incentivizing part was for offline store, where you actually stick stickers. And that is for the offline sales people to actually push that product and sell. The incentivizing is for the online journey, where a customer has placed an order, you send them a WhatsApp message, order confirmed. The second message is, can you convert this order into prepaid and get 100 rupees off? The old order gets cancelled, there's a new order placed at a 100 rupees discount. So there are two different verticals.
See, you don't do COD, so you don't know it.
Yeah.
But we deal with it on a daily basis, right? So what he just told about Manyavar is, please understand, brands like Manyavar, they are occasion driven. So, there is not much of seasonality there, right? So there's, for them, a kurta which sells during summer can also sell during pre-winters, right? So, and that's the stand they have taken. But what he's talking about, green tagging those pieces, that my ops head is sitting here right now. He comes to me and he says that, hey, you know what? I think this is the stock which is left over. Can we do a per piece incentivizing for the boys to sell it off? Well, if it takes more money rather than motivation, then okay, take more money and sell the stock off. Because the cost of taking the stock back to the warehouse, the cost of holding that stock in the warehouse is way larger. And then at the end of the day, everybody knows if people sitting out here who are handling that on a daily basis are trying to tell themselves that, dude, this last year has been a great year, or this current year has been a great year. Just go back and understand how much of stock is going to come back to your warehouse, right? And then you'll understand what is your bottom line hit. So isn't it better that we finish it off right there?
And it also depends from, again, I think the entire panel is after you on this, on the COD thing. But, with fast fashion like us, it is next to impossible, because every silhouette is different, every, body type is different. We're not a standard product because we deal with, women of India, which changes from one ethnicity to the other ethnicity, from one state to other state. So it becomes very imperative, to follow this model of COD. The only thing brands like us do is, okay, we have certain segments which actually don't go prepaid because you cannot afford to take them back, like for example, fragrances. But there are certain products which have to go on COD because in my kind of business, the more the customer tries, the more she'll buy. Absolutely.
You can't do an undergarments.
What we do is
we've been discussing more on the COD, the online part, but I largely come from a company which is more into offline and various channels. So I think what Sanjeev said in the beginning, the way we handle it is that, one, we focus very much on having a very sharper assortment, rely on the new B&M tools for the merchandisers to have a very, very sharp assortment, catchment-wise one. Second, we monitor the sell-throughs almost weekly, and anything that is turning out to be a non-mover or a slow mover, immediately we put it on progressive markdowns, and we look at consolidation twice within a season to manage the stock. And what we also have done is that in some cases, after the season is over, we have tried to extend the life of the product by continuing it in the store. For example, very expensive suits and all that we make, we don't bring it back to the DC because, purely in logistics, we kind of have damages. So we try to give incentive to the staff and kind of sell it out from there. So that's how we have been managing.
Just to add a very interesting point, what we figured out in our journey is that our first customer in the offline space is not the customer. It's the salesman who is actually selling to the customer. So for the salesman, it becomes old stock, oddments. For the customer, it's never oddments and old stock. So this whole concept of, returns, I completely agree. When we have tried this, because we deal with the higher value products like Abhishek does, in brands like Gan, True Religion, what we have seen is that if we are able to convince our first customer that this is good stock, and you get incentive on selling this good stock, he shows that. And he shows it with all the might. And the customer believes him. So, and when he does not trust that stock, you can do whatever. You can discount it at 80%. He will not show it to the customer. So this model of actually incentivizing works in a big way in the offline space because it convinces our first customer, which is our salesman. And their easiest thing to say is, ki bik jayega, ho jayega, but they don't do it. They don't believe it from the core. So you have to influence their selling behavior. And incentivize, when they earn 200, 300, 400 rupees on selling that product, which is in a high value game, it's 5% of the product incentive. We normally give discounts which are up to 40, 50% when it becomes a 10 months old inventory. So it's, must be very high. Yeah. So as you go up the ladder, the multiple becomes better, but then yeah, you need to get that many more customers. So somewhere that marketing increases. So yeah, it's an interesting piece. And one more thing is to add to maneuver thing we were all discussing. So it's an easy concept. They don't display, they display size-wise. So when you display size-wise, then there is no question of old, new, oddments. So season in khatam. So it's a game which they have mastered, and giving credit to them, that's a great game.
Also, their products don't have PKD because they are selling one loose item. So in a loose item, you don't have to display PKD. In fashion business, when you have a PKD and a customer sees that it's a one, say S-1 or S-2, then he automatically kind of, so that's advantage.
Coming back, customer never sees the tag. You know, I have this learning, I have seen it, I've been on the floor. It's my salesman who sees the tag because he knows more than the customer. And he, in his, sees that this product is previous season. And he's the one who gets convinced in his heart, ye maal nahi bikega. And when that happens, he does not show.
See, one more way to what we, and this is a very interesting one, how we kind of manage the reverse logistics is, you know, one of the reasons why we are also going global. So global is not just because we want to take the India story abroad. Yes, that is it. But within that, the benefits that we get is, look at Canada. I was just telling him that, you know, in Canada, you start with light winters, then you get into deep winter. By the time winter is over here in India, Canada currently is under snow. And then it continues until March. So my season gets over in winter. All my jackets that I have gets over with my new season going into the store. So you'll be surprised that, and I don't mind sharing this, is just about 4 days back, we got an order of 3,000 jackets to be shipped to one store in Canada because they believe that our winter is over, but when the winter comes down from deep to lighter, they will be able to liquidate that stock. So you see, there are these benefits which we need to work on, because today, the way that the entire sales function is moving, I've seen brands who are having one section which says best of the last. How the hell can the last be the best? Yeah, they have a signage which says best of the last. And it is there throughout 12 months. Technically, what they are saying is, boss, if you're looking at value, this is where it is. यहाँ पे मैं आपको 50% का discount दे रहा हूँ, 60% का discount दे रहा हूँ, but I term it as best of the last. Size मिले ना मिले वो अलग बात है. But see, there are various things that people are doing. There are various situations that people are handling. I think Manubhai here has been handling that for years and years. So
what we do in our stores is we have a what we call spin project. Spin is special incentive. And when I'm buying a garment for 1,000 rupees, I'm selling it for 3,000. And when I see the sell-through per week is 3%, 4%, I know that after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, my end of season will come, sale, and I'll be selling that at 1,500 rupees. So instead of giving 1,500 discount to the customer after 3 months or 4 months, I would rather give 200 rupees to my salesman, who is working for me for 8 hours, 10 hours a day. And this also acts as a very powerful retention tool, because we are all grappling with attrition. We know salesmen who leave 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees extra mila, he goes to somebody else. Somebody who's been trained with you for 2 years, 3 years. So rather than, I mean, I know I can't give him 25, 30,000 salary, but if he's a really good salesman and he's able to clear these goods of mine, I'm very happy to give him 4,000, 5,000 incentive. And when they discuss among themselves, they say, "Aaj aapko spin mein kitna mila?" The enthusiasm is tremendous. Only one thing which you have to be very careful is that, let's say if I have 1,000 sarees in one store, if I have 50% of the goods on spin, we measure that, we see that not more than 20% of the goods are the slow movers, right? And the second thing we measure is that if any salesman is selling too much of his sales are spin products, that means he's not selling the fresh merchandise. And if a customer comes who's got a potential to buy 5 sarees, you show him the whole goods, he'll buy 2 sarees. Salesman is happy, he's paid 500 rupees. but I've lost sale of 3 sarees and probably lost the customer also.
Beautiful insights by everybody, but for a second there, I thought I did too good a job of sparking a conversation. I didn't feel the need to be the moderator for the last 30 minutes. So I think I'll just come back to it now with Akhil ji. He's the ED at Madame. He's been running 150 stores in the women's western wear category. And the brand now is 3 decades old, established in 1993, while their parent company, Jain Clothing, has been 8 decades old now. And they've been creating an era of high fashion in the Indian apparel industry. So, sir, my question to you is, what steps can fashion companies take to ensure a seamless integration of auto-replenishment, hyper-local strategies, and warehouse management systems for maximum operational efficiency?
For any company, fast fashion, slow fashion, in today's dynamic world, probably I always use one term which is called agility, that how fast can you respond to the market requirement and tweak your sourcing, buying, production, fulfillment to suit that need. So being a company which is vertically integrated, so a company like me dons two hats, wherein we have a large manufacturing setup where we are producing about 95% of what we source from my own factories and retailing on my own stores. So it becomes, a very dynamic for us to respond to those market conditions. It gives, at times, it gives a lot of advantage to us. For example, last year the Barbie fever, all of a sudden the Barbie fever came into vogue, and you didn't have pink merchandise at that time because it was not planned to be there. But having your own manufacturing and the agility of combination of having your own DCs and third-party solutions, you could ship that inventory faster, and having a sort of ARS model in place, we could, actually what we did is, we send that merchandise to about 100 stores, and then we started doing IBTs from 20 of those to fulfill the requirement of the ones who were selling it faster than the other ones. So this is the kind of model. So it will always be a combination, and as you grow larger in width, it becomes more imperative and important that, that IBT things needs to be solved. We do a lot of planning in-house when we do the season planning, for example. All of us, I think, plan about 8 to 10 months in advance of what's going to sell in the next, after 8 to 10 months. So point is, okay, so this is probably, I think, all planned and managed now. The thing that is more required now is doing the IBTs, inter-store transfers, to see the selections, what's happening, where, what merchandise is selling in what zones, and India being such a large country, so north, we have winters here, but south is already, back into summers. So can I manage my merchandise from south to north or north to south to create better clearances? And a concept of dark stores, again, help a lot in that. For example, for my company, we've created about 8 dark stores, 2 stores in each zone, to, try to service the other retail points, including my stores and even the large format stores, so that, we could have the clearances better.
Amazing. So coming to Mr. Nirdosh Chauhan here. So Sir has been with Apple for the last 11 plus years. He's majorly built technology for their stores across 25 countries and more than 500 stores. And he's just yesterday come on board as the CTPO for Agilitas. So Sir, my question to you is, on your first day of the job, what is your vision for technology-wise for Agilitas?
Yeah, I've done fairly good amount of retail. Obviously, large part has been with Apple, but work with Mehra, right? A lot of other places, right? So most of the challenges, I think, what we have seen in this panel, right, from return to how do we find what we should build, right? How do we develop products? How do we bring it to market? What's the right strategy for us to locate them, right? How do we, bring the efficiency into our logistics? And there's like many more questions around them, right? What I will put out is a specific thought around how do we, activate ourselves to the next generation of technology. And that essentially has 3, the steps to it, right? Most of us, by and large, do some portion of it, which is capturing what's happening in our environment. Could be what people like, what they're putting their eyes into, right? What they touch and leave, right? What they probably try and then leave, right? Or something they pick up and then go home as well, right? It could be return, it could be many more things. So that's the part we do a lot. I think what I essentially believe is that we need to do this at lot more granular levels, right? As I said, how do you really know somebody is eyeing to product, but as they come closer, they move out, right? It's something a lot of intelligence can give it to you and say what people are just running away from it, right? You could really see in your stores and say, where do people spend most of the time? Online is far more easier, right? I mean, you know which products people are spending more time on your apps and the pages, right? So that's the first part. We do a lot, but this needs to be done at every step at far more granular level than what we do it today. Next is, how do we bring this intelligence or, say viewpoint to our stakeholders, right? How does, designers or the people who are developing products get to understand what's happening out there, right? What products people finally make purchase but end up returning back, right? What products don't even get 10% of your view time in entire stocks or entire SKUs you have available. So your developers, the people who are designing, people who are developing gets to know about this. That's another part. Merchandisers get to understand what's happening, how is the pricing working, which strategy is working, which is not. So the first part we do it fairly to large extent. It's just that we need to get in much more deeper. Second part, we do it, but not necessarily at very efficient way, right? We do it at level where there is a plethora of information just thrown up to decision makers, and they're not really sure which part to really eye to it, right? The third, which is, I will say, is activation for all of us we should think around, is that there has been reasonably very strong development into AI, right? Most of you must have seen very recently OpenAI has announced about Sora, which says, how can I really visualize maybe some of the fashion which I built today in a real world environment before I make even a decision of designing them out, right? That's maybe the one step, right? But activating also means that how can I have actionable insights of my product, of my customers, of my staff, of my employees about what do they do with my product, right? And those actionable insights comes to you pre-built, ready for you to take action, right? So, see, the general AI is still not there where we would believe to be, and that is where once we get actionable insight, we as a stakeholders, we as a decision makers can actually make a lot of change, right? So these are the few things, and I think this is essentially not necessarily just thinking about what design we should really bring it to market, but a lot of discussion about what incentives are going to work for our staff could be also one of the decision, AGI can bring it to us. Essentially, yes, yesterday was my day one. Today is a day two. I'm looking forward to learn a lot, but I'm sure there is so much out there we could do. We can really bring in a lot of difference as well.
I think he's spoken like a true CTPO, all his insights. Thank you for that. Moving on to Mr. Apoorv Sen. So with their business at Iconic, it's basically a two-part business. One part is premium multi-brand stores, which have the distribution of brands like Gant, True Religion, DKNY, and many more. So they were the first actually to enter all models of ARS, WMS, and hyperlocal. And I have known Iconic stores for a long time now, and I would like to know that, I know that you've not been a very technologically nimble company from day one, but that has changed in the past, and I would like to know how that journey has been. What has it been like?
Thanks, Inaayat, for the introduction. So we were not a technology company. We were a technology-adverse company, pre-pandemic. So came the pandemic, stores shut, and we had to change our model. And the change of the model was simple, that we were hit the hard way, that we had to take our store to the customer, and which opened a lot of avenues. And I'll start with the basics. So, we keep talking about WMS, auto replenishment. So what is WMS? You can have a great WMS, you can have a great warehouse, but if your inventory is not visible to all the customers, when I say all the customers, you have varied customers. Today our customer is a marketplace, our customer is our own website team, our customer is actually our store team also. So what we did was, we started with obviously building a strong WMS, and logic played a part in it. But now we've taken it to the next level, where all our inventory in our warehouse is visible to each and every store manager. Because we believe, like I was saying, there is no bad inventory. And the best person to decide that what will sell in the store is actually not a merchandiser sitting on the Excel sheet. It's actually the store manager sitting in the store, because he or she knows that what is working with the customer. And this has really helped us because we have extended that WMS into an ordering system where store managers order daily from the entire inventory in the warehouse. And they order like 3 pieces, 4 pieces. So for me, they are my D2C business drivers, because they are actually making my inventory move. And this is inventory which is 3 years old inventory. But they believe that they have a need for that. And because they know the pulse more than anyone else in the system. So we extended this and we have seen fantastic results. The results which we have seen is that today, 40% of our business in the full price months has started coming from old inventory. And this is making our inventory move. Because normally what used to happen was old inventory was always earmarked for either the sale part of the business or for marketplaces, traditionally. But now this is changing because the inventory is being churned at a much higher rate. The second thing which we brought in was that we were very quick because we realized a problem from like I said, technology adverse company. We had to be nimble. So now we have a very seamless inventory. We have a one inventory model. And we genuinely believe that, if you have a solid omni-channel going, which means you're servicing from your stores, you're sweating your stores more, you have more dark stores, you're hyper-local, closer to the customer. Today, about 55% of our business comes through stores for marketplaces. We fulfill it from the stores, and that's given me an added advantage. Now I've started keeping more inventory at the stores, because traditionally we used to build inventory in the warehouse for marketplaces. Now we believe that inventory should be in the store. And that inventory in the store gives us dual opportunity. It gives us opportunity to sell it to an offline customer also walking into the store. And it also gives us an opportunity to sell it to a marketplace customer. So obviously we are still figuring out, we are not good with our returns, and returns is a bigger problem, but we are improving. We are also learning the traits of what marketplaces want. We are trying to become more stringent, trying to convince the marketplace that there is a different return model when the fulfillment is happening from stores. We can't build a store like a warehouse where there are 100 cameras and stuff. And they're also understanding because they also need that kind of inventory. And warehouse will never have that quality of inventory which a store would have. So very interesting part in this one inventory model. And with that intervention, that technology intervention which happened, our full price sell-through moved up by 8 percentage points, which is fantastic because it was all about sweating it. It's all about showcasing it to the right customer at the right place. One more thing, because which I genuinely believe, is that every store will not depict a same sale behavior. So it's very important because we take a lot of gut feeling, data feeling that something will work somewhere, something will not work somewhere. Now I think we've perfected our IST model also, which is the inter-store model. We're very fast with it because we believe now the full price season is shrinking. Market is going early on sale, so it's very, very important to sweat your merchandise in the full price months. And some stores, we buy 20 pieces per style for a particular store, but they end up selling 100 pieces. Now that 100 pieces cannot be done if you don't have a nimble inter-store model. And that's all technology based. You can't manually do now. The third thing which we did was even more interesting because in our multi-brand retail format, we work with almost 50 plus brands. What we saw was that ideally these brands, because brands, the biggest of the Indian brands, for them we were one point of sale. So in the hierarchy of their sales channels, they had their own mono-brand stores, they had the bigger retail formats, and then we were there. So what we said to them was that if we can give a model of auto-replenishment, inter-store transfer to our own brands in our store, why can't we extend it to you? And that's all technology. Now their software is talking to our software. All the data which we have seamlessly goes to them, and their warehouse has stock because they buy a much higher depth for their business. And now with these interventions, the auto-replenishment is seamless with them also. And their replenishments, I see their replenishments happening in 4 to 5 days because they're seeing their inventory churn out. And we are very nimble with their ISTs, their pullbacks, because we believe if a partner's inventory gets stuck in our system, eventually next season he'll plan less. So today I think it's been a journey. Like you said, it's been a journey of making all these technology interventions. But it's been an interesting journey. I think we are still halfway. A lot of things to be done. But it's an interesting journey. I think this space we need to learn. And I've learned it the hard way, that the solution is technology. And the solution is how to make it more nimble and how to make our front-end people use it. Our customers use it. If we only talk about it, they don't use it, it becomes redundant. One more thing which was very interesting was, we were talking about returns. One of the factors which we saw in returns was that when the delivery time was taking more than 72 hours, the return percentage, cancellation percentage was going up. So hyperlocal is, though the cost looks very high when you say hyperlocal, because there's a cost. 1 day delivery cost is higher than a 3 days delivery cost. But when you look at the overall math, that after 72 hours, 96 hours, the customer cancellation skyrockets. So when you build that hyperlocal model through your store fulfillment, it brings down your return percentage, it brings down your cancellation percentage, all your metrics start looking better. So hyperlocal is now, it's a necessity now, because you have to be faster to the customer. Because customers, especially in the format that we are operating, which is a premium format, gone are the days when they're buying for wearing it after 3 months. Our customer wants to buy a product and wear it next day. So if we don't deliver the product next day, his event, his occasion, his mindset is gone. So your hyperlocal is extremely important, because with hyperlocal costs, you can easily offset it with the reduction in cancellation, reduction in return cost. And you don't need to incentivize the customer too. Because in our segment, if he wants it or she wants it, they want it in 24 hours now.
I think we're being reminded that our time's out. Can I just ask for a 5-minute extension? We've just got one last question to get through. Just 5 minutes. Thank you. So our topic today was making supply chain great again. So I've kept a very interesting perspective saved for the last bit. We've got all our brands here. Who we have here is Miss Kalika Mehra. I'll quickly introduce her. She's a second-generation entrepreneur handling complete operations, design, innovation, and product development, making the company a one-stop solution for sketch to store solutions. So we have a manufacturer here with us. While we're talking about WMS, ARS, it's manufacturers like themselves who make it possible for us to get everything into our stores in time. So my question to you is, how a manufacturer is helping the brands to maintain their auto-replenishment systems and maximizing their operational efficiency? And while doing so, what challenges do you face?
So the first thing that I would like to highlight, for me to be successful, to ensure that you have the product right time in stores, to have a 24-hour delivery to your customer, we need proper forecasting, proper planning. The global brands that we are working with, they are very clear with what they want, and that is because they are using AI in understanding the consumer behavior. So they know what is selling in which state, in which store, in which area, which women would want to wear what kind of a product. This helps them to replenish their inventory very more efficiently, more than that we are doing here in India. And it is also helping us manufacturers to have all raw materials in time and be prepared to service you in a very short lead time. For me, supply chain optimization is something that's a formidable task, because when we work as a manufacturer, we have a huge network of stakeholders whom we have to manage to ensure to deliver a product. If we don't work on all these factors, we will not be able to deliver the product to you. So forecasting and planning is something that is required. In-depth details, like there are brands who are even sharing the real-time data of the consumer behavior with us. So we have Amazon working with us, who shares with us that what style that I've shipped to them is selling the most, which helps me to back up all the material for them to supply them, the very next in 30 days when they place an order with me. So planning is something that is needed definitely.
I think our time's up. Do we have time to take questions? Could the team let me know? Do we have time for questions? I don't see the team, so I think we're free to take questions. Just take one, okay. We can take one question, so better make it a good one. Whoever has a good question, please. Anybody, any questions? We have somebody at the back.
Hi, my name is Kavin. My question is to Siddharth. Hi, Siddharth. I think we all know that major of our RTOs come through customers who order from COD. So there are many checkout platforms these days claiming that we understand if the customer is genuine or not. Through AI, we try to identify and show them if they can be a COD. Otherwise, they don't show, it's only a prepaid. So do these checkout partners, are they able to reduce the RTO for you? So that's my question.
To an extent, I think yes, but it is like a termite which is never going to, go away from the system unless you're a Lacoste who can just bar COD. But honestly speaking, I think RTO reduces over a period of time. Once you've established yourself, there's a trust. Customer experience here, matters the most. If you're giving a very seamless customer, experience, as well as, solving the needs of the consumer in terms of communication. Your order has been packed, it has been shipped. All these actually help, the sort of information that you would get will help a customer not to, return that product without even picking it up. Largely what brands do is they just send a message, order placed, and then out for delivery. So then the customer isn't a surprise saying, after 5 days I'm getting this message, or after 3 days I'm getting this message. So I think communication will also solve. There are various such metrics that you should keep doing. Like in our case, we don't let any customer who's done more than 3 RTOs place a COD order. Right. So there are many such things that you could do and test it out, and then keep bringing that number down.
Thank you.
All right, I think. Hello? Yeah, okay. I think we only had time for one question, but I think all of you have been lovely today as an audience, and I think you would all agree that all our panelists have been very honest and poured their hearts out, so they deserve a huge round of applause. Thank you.